we can go ahead and get started. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Krishna Dasari from Accenture Security. So today I'm excited to host Accenture and HashiCorp Zero Trust Security Virtual Roadshow. So we want to talk about our experience deploying HashiCorp Vault at our customers, what we have been seeing in the industry, and how we want to help. I think, okay. So you guys see my screen, right?
Yep, it's visible.
Awesome. So again, right, this is Krishna Dasari. I'm one of the managing directors within Accenture Security. I also lead our global HashiCorp Vault as a practice. And from security perspective, we do identity access and privilege access management, and Vault is getting into the realm of predominantly privileged access management, application security, and secrets management space. So we are excited to talk about it. Moving into the first slide here, security in authentication is the topic. So from a time, there's a lot of emphasis on identity and access of what can be accessed, right? We've done a great job securing identities, right? Creating identity and access management tools, leveraging 2FA or multi-factor authentications. And we are continuing to invest in more and more factors to secure users' identity, getting into applications or getting into infrastructure and things like that. But when one application has to talk to another application, how is it communicating, right? It has to use secrets, and then predominantly, from all the legacy infrastructure application stack, where we didn't have a lot of DevOps capabilities, right? We used to deploy the applications with static secrets in them. And the realm of app-to-app communication with secrets being the authentication mechanism is a big area which is being introspected across various organizations. And obviously, all the authentication fraud or the privilege access fraud is being determined to be happening through that secrets not being either obfuscated, not being encrypted, or they're plain and they reside on the servers. So with that, probably more than 60% of data breaches are due to the compromised credentials, right? Again, right, it's a realm of identities identities, the passwords, as well as the privilege access secrets and the secret codes and stuff like that. With identities, we talked, right, they can be managed in the sense like leveraging multi-factor authentications. We can secure to a point, but when it comes to device communications or application to application secrets, there's very limited things we can do on a dynamic basis. And once a breach happens, right, the cost of containing it or doing a remediation is becoming expensive. And as the access footprint continues to increase in an organization, the expense is just going to continue to increase. I mean, there are various risk parameters the organizations set up, right, with the access points, and then the metadata which says what type of access it is and all of that stuff. But again, right, once a breach happens, it's very hard to contain as well as communicate externally. Going to the next slide. Now, talking about secrets, right? What keeps a secret secret? Like, what is a secret, right? So you have, and where does this reside, and what is the audience for it? Like, how are we seeing things in the industry, right? Secret can reside in various layers of an infrastructure. It can be at the application tier, right? There can be a breach at the app tier. The secret can be at the middleware or microservices tier, and that can be part of application properties and stuff like that, where it gets added during the build time and gets deployed. It can be at the infrastructure tier, like or your operating system, whether Windows or Linux or various other flavors of Unix, right? Or it can be at your database tier. So, and it can be at all the tiers. There are opportunities that breach can happen at any point of time. We talk about identity and access management tools like sale points or Savians, where we are talking, oh, entitlements are going to provision user access, but all the access points where there is privilege access or the service accounts, the way we call them, right? Those are the access points which are not part of your identity or your entitlement landscape, and those are the areas which needs more focus, right? With the advent of the new ways of doing things, those are the areas we need to be more focused. So we want to minimize the audience who have access to these secrets, right? The more people that know the secret, the higher likelihood that the secret is to be revealed, right? So, and if a secret has an expiration date, right? If it's a static secret which has to be deployed on an application for whatever reason, if we have ways to rotate the secret periodically and apply policies needed, that at least helps us in minimizing the threat footprint for all practical purposes, right? So that is where, like, the secret uh, gets exposed to a point, right? That is a place where there is a very limited control of where the secret is deployed, how it's maintained, who can access it, and stuff like that. So the governance tools, the identity governance tools or access tools, gives us a comprehensive view of an application from like an access point of view, and it predominantly is more user getting an access to an application, not at that infrastructure point of view. Going into the next slide. So we briefly talked about, secrets and expiration of the secrets, right? So we want to define policies within your vaulting platform and apply those policies to your privilege service accounts or secrets. And I mean, the mainstream PAM vendors, right? They have agents that gets deployed on the infrastructure, which kind of validates checks on these on the policies, and then on a periodic basis those agents interact with your PAM tools and interact with your applications to do the password rotation, right? That, and how effective can that be done across various layers of access, right? Can various patterns of access. So if you have a service, right? If you have a service where dynamic secret can uniquely generate an authentication token at the right time when someone is accessing, an authentication gets generated, and without human intervention, right? It can get applied. That takes us more towards the zero trust identity and access architecture we keep talking about. I mean, obviously there is no like zero trust. It's the footprint of what level of security we want to implement. That is what takes us close to what we call as zero trust continuous or conditional access, right? So we definitely need to look at platforms or the products or tool sets which actually helps us with this dynamic secret concept, and then leveraging APIs or authentication tokens. That way those secrets can be applied as the policy gets into the place, and then that can be used, and then that immediately gets rotated, right? That's the kind of architecture we are trying to get to. Right. On this slide, we briefly talked about all means of access, right? So we have infrastructure, moving from on-prem to hybrid, and then moving from hybrid to cloud. We now, a couple of years back, organizations would say, "Oh, I'm going to be an AWS shop, or I'm going to be an Azure shop, I'm going to be a GCP shop," but that's not the case anymore, right? Like now, pretty much most of the clients are multi-cloud environment. So multi-cloud environments need identity access as well as privilege access kind of standardized. We either use identity tools, which are, you probably already have invested in your identity platforms. You want to migrate them over to cloud, or you want to extend your governance platform to your cloud workloads. Same with access, right? You probably ForgeRock or Okta, Microsoft Azure AD for access perspective, and then extending that SAML trust to your cloud infrastructure or environment. But coming to the privileged access, right, we end up depending on, okay, I have this AWS workloads or the AWS infrastructure. I'm going to use AWS Key Vault as part of spinning off an EC2 instance. The secrets get generated and they get vaulted into AWS Key Vault. The same thing happens with Azure. Same thing happens with GCP, right? They have their own secrets management tools, which are pretty much supporting only workloads on those cloud security, cloud providers. And then think about, your organization has privileged access management platforms like CyberArk or Beyond Trust, where you have now CyberArk and you have all these cloud privileged access platforms you need to continue to manage. But with leveraging infrastructure as code principles, or code as config, however you want to call, leveraging Terraform as part of our cloud deployments or cloud transformation, we got an opportunity to take a step back and see how we can manage our secrets as we are spinning off these instances, right? That is where HashiCorp Vault, with all these awesome tools that they have, right? They have Nomad, the Consul for all the directory storage and orchestration. They have Vault for storing secrets, also encryption, and also providing encryption as a service for all these cloud workloads. And then obviously we briefly talked about Terraform, right? Leveraging Terraform as a differentiator, and building our infrastructure as core deployment tools. And then you have all your code in your repository, and it's integrated with your vault. As you spin off new instances, secrets get dynamically generated and vaulted, and then on top of it we can start applying policies, and then the policies can take care of typical compliance and audit aspects, I would say. But again, we'll talk about the whole compliance and audits in a minute. So with this various layers of accesses, again, we talked about all means of access at different stages of infrastructure, integrating your deployments, or as you're migrating your on-prem or or hybrid workloads to cloud, you can as well leverage the CI/CD DevOps type tools with Terraforms. That way you are spinning off the infrastructure, you're also packaging your applications using Terraforms, and you Jenkins or whatever pipelines you are using, you can take your credentials out of the equations and start leveraging APIs to generate tokens, generate keys, as well as deploy them as part of your app deployment. I mean, we briefly talked most of you already know, Vault provides ability to secure, store, and tightly manage secrets, right? It can do tokens, passwords, certificates, as well as encryption keys, right? You can leverage Vault to do encryption as a service. You can do Vault to vault your secrets. You can, like, as we start this journey, right, we can do static vaulting, and as we have into our continuous integration and deployment methodology, we can start deploying policies and turn those policies over. That way, the passwords are, or the secrets are, rotated periodically. That way we get into the dynamic secrets architecture. So we will have, right now we have talked about the infrastructure and how we can secure infrastructure with regards to vaulting the credentials and managing them. The aspects intersection point between your governance tool, right? Your governance tool, your access management platform, and secrets platform is effectively maintaining, which application belongs to like who is the owner of an application per se, right? Who is the owner of application? What type of application is this an SOX application? Is it a NERCSIP application, right? This type of metadata comes from your CMDB typically. I mean, obviously not many organizations have mature CMDB. This is another realm, right? Leveraging Terraform and then tagging your infrastructure as part of your infrastructure as code will help you map the fluid infrastructure that gets deployed. When I say fluid, it's like, you spin off an instance, you kill it, you spin off another instance. But as you're doing, up and down, you are actually tagging each one of those infrastructure with your CMDB or asset ID per se, right? As you map it to your asset ID, asset has information about owners, like who owns that asset, what type of asset or an application that is, and then that metadata gives information about, okay, applying policies, right? Okay, this is a SOX application, then the policies are so and so. So what we are trying to get here is Vault, and Vault typically is more into application infrastructure realm, right? Cybersecurity is on the other side, who's got their own privilege management tools and tool sets like CyberArk or Beyond Trust, Centrify, like the mainstream vendors, right? So they have the policies which they are supposed to adhere to. They have to report periodically to the compliance and audit. And then IT infrastructure is standing up Vault and having the policies, right? If we can get the metadata mapped, and if we can get the ownership appropriately mapped, now we can integrate these policies with the mainstream policies, and that's where we can be part of the whole compliance landscape. So once we spin off, once we integrate, the maintenance becomes easy because you already have a platform. It's integrated. You have ACLs deployed and integrated, and then maintenance becomes easy, as your DevOps pipeline redeploys applications already integrated with Vault. So the secrets are applied dynamically, and then they are rotated as per the policies are defined within your Vault. And then obviously with doing that, there is a huge security footprint we are addressing. Like the human access becomes minimal because the secrets become dynamic, and anytime someone wants to access it, then we are talking about using encryption keys or certificates to log in. And we talked about extracting out the deployment architecture from like CSP provided or Terraform scripts, and leveraging Vault as part of infrastructure as code. We have the same methodology of doing deployments across multiple CSPs. And these are typical use cases. I mean, within Accenture Security and Accenture overall, we have leveraged Azure MSI to do Azure authentication, AWS with AWS or GCP authentication, or if it is an on-prem deployment, we use TLS cert authentication to authenticate into Vault. And then we have like we talked about AWS Secrets Engine, GCP Secrets Engine, and Azure Key Vault, right? We use all kinds of integration methodologies, and then move those integration methodologies to move over into the dynamic secrets realm. And there's a lot of lessons learned, right? So as we are going through Vault journey or transformation journey for our clients, like I earlier mentioned, right? Accenture Security, right? We are predominantly focused on authentication, like identity access governance and privilege access governance. But in industry, we are seeing a lot of application infrastructure teams standing up their own Vault and extending it as a service to all the applications, right? As part of their DevOps pipeline, CI/CD methodology. So the biggest lesson learned is bringing our cyber stakeholders and bringing IT and infrastructure or application stakeholders and having that communication and ownership, like either shifting ownership to cyber, or cyber has a line of sight onto the policies which are getting deployed as part of Vault transformation, right? That has been a biggest lesson for us as we've been doing this. And as clients are adopting, like we talked, hey, why don't we come up with a common strategy between GCP, AWS, and Azure, and have some common set of tools to do the builds and deploys, right? That way, like everyone talks about, right? Security by design. We implement security by design and be secure from the beginning as we are transforming your workloads from on-prem to cloud. And obviously, cloud native services provide easy to stand up and transform. But the amount of how do we want to extend the cloud native services, right? Like the leveraging AWS ways of doing things and Azure ways of doing things. Now you need multiple skill sets. Like what if we take the needs and come up with the common patterns? That way we are bridging that cultural gaps between multiple cloud providers. And that is where we want to interject and use that the tools like Terraforms and Vault to take some of those workloads away and create that standard patterns for people to use, right? Those are some of the lessons learned for us, like doing this over and over, but also as part of overall footprint doing this at various clients. We have come up with our tool sets or accelerators to expedite the journey for clients. Then how can we help, right? So this is Accenture Security, and we are probably one of the largest AWS certified tool. The slide what you have here is probably not the latest, but we have folks who are trained and experienced AWS architect. We have folks who have been like Azure SMEs, and we have over 30 plus certified Terraform associates and Vault associates. I'll take a pause and I'll let you guys talk or ask questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Krishna. I think we'll take a pause here, and I think we're starting to field questions in the chat. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to kind of send them in the chat and we'll take them live, and we can kind of go from there.
On the, sorry, is on mute. I see a question on the chat window for applications on-prem VMs. Would it be recommended to use Vault CLI? Yes, absolutely. It's the right way to do Vault CLI for secret onboarding and also define patterns, right? So,
Krishna, so I think one of the questions that I think a lot of people have, right, is that we see clients that are using like legacy stacks, and there's that bridge that we get asked to create for, let's just say they're all trying to go into the multi-cloud journey, yet they still have an older stack. How is kind of that secrets management journey tied to a larger identity programs? Can you kind of talk about our experience and what we're seeing in the industry?
so as so the question is like, okay, as we are migrating workloads from on-prem to cloud, what's happening to the secrets, right?
Yeah. So exactly. Like, what do we do with the secrets they're on-prem, and then also tied to like that secrets management tying into a larger identity program? Like, what are we doing with that?
So here, multiple things, right? So, I mean, see, on-prem or cloud, right? The legacy or the existing ways of doing secrets management is, provisioning into Active Directory and those secrets, again, depending on the groups, right? They get synced up with CyberArk or Beyond Trust, and that's where the secrets reside. So someone is going to rotate those secrets on-prem tools, or we have agents which gets deployed as part of infrastructure footprint of these vaulting platforms, which periodically rotate, or which actually manages and provides insights of what secrets are onboarded for what infrastructure component, right? As we are migrating over into cloud, right? The predominantly the success we are seeing is leveraging more automation or infrastructure as code type solutions, right? As part of infrastructure as code type solution, the spin-off in infrastructure is going to generate a secret, and it's also going to onboard into a vaulting platform. So the question becomes, existing investments with the vault platforms for cyber has already, like, would that scale to support this architecture, right? So what we are seeing in industry is they're not there, right? The mainstream PAM vendors are not there to get integrated into the build methodologies, right? Be integrated into next generation, or infrastructure as code or code as config type build methodologies. They're not getting integrated. That is where we see huge gap, and that's the gap which Vault is filling right now.
Perfect, thank you. I think another question that came is really tied to, if Accenture has implemented kind of the zero trust solution, like the Hashi stack internally, and if we have, what challenges or blockers that we face, kind of deploying that. So if you want to talk about our journey internally.
So our journey, as well as the journeys we are seeing at clients, is adoption, right? So what we are seeing is, unless you have a robust change management communication and a maintenance management type solution, or support system, it's very hard for us to make our application teams adopt, right? We see clients who's got built integration patterns around PCFs, around Spring Boot microservices architecture, and have done work around other types of integrations, right? The application integration, the solution is there. They've already did a POC and onboarded a bunch of applications. They want others to adopt, right? Unless you have a proper customer support team who is focused on supporting questions on how to integrate applications into the vaulting platform, right? I mean, as many as KB articles we have, or wiki pages we create, it's the journey of customers. When I say customers, right, the application team integrating into Vault is becoming a slow process of migrating workload. The biggest bang for the buck, what we are seeing is, when applications are migrating over from on-prem or hybrid cloud to actual cloud, right, to AWS or Azure, that is an opportunity where, like, us, Accenture, for example, right, has got this opportunity to take this application stack and move them over to cloud. As part of moving them over to cloud, you need to update the secrets or integrate the secrets back to your vaulting platform. But as we are migrating these workloads over cloud, if we start using the CI/CD DevOps methodologies to deploy these applications onto the infrastructure component, that is where we are seeing huge adoption of secrets. I think I see the similar question here, right? The cultural challenge that goes beyond the security solutions.
Yes, okay. I know people process technology is how we typically break things down for most of the C-suite and the senior managers. But we see Vault and the entire Terraform stack, or the Hashi stack, is allowing us to be more agile, be more cloud native. But typically what we see is that there's that small team that's out there, they're doing kind of that cloud native work, and there's that the kind of the, I guess we'll call it, a hurdle that a lot of people face to get that adoption. So in terms of how do we, from a people side of things, if you're a security leader, what are we kind of asking our security leaders to kind of bring people together to make sure that we can deploy that zero trust model, and B, increase the adoption of these cloud native solutions?
So I think this is more than security sponsors, right? That's the whole point here, right? The security sponsors are focused on extending or deploying tools and extending what they have. Like they have SailPoint, Savient for IGA. They have Ping, Octus, and ForgeRock, and Microsoft Azure AD for Access, and they have CyberArk and Beyond Trust and all of that good stuff for PAM, right? They have their stack. They expect all the applications as they're spinning up their new application or going through their architecture review board to identify the secrets and say, okay, are these secrets? What kind of application is this? What kind of compliance is this? Are these secrets getting onboarded into CyberArk? That's where it ends, right? They say yes or no, and then it's a one-time thing. They expect those secrets to be onboarded, and they think it's all compliant, right? The problem is IT and infrastructure wants to move fast. They want to adopt, the DevOps methodologies big time, right? The DevOps has been there for ages, but they want to adapt as they are migrating their workloads over. This gives the application teams an opportunity to redefine how they do security by design. That is where there is a gap between what cybersecurity is professing as standards versus what application teams want to use, right? So there should be that bridge, right? The continuous conversation about, hey, these are the policies which we have deployed, and these are the policies which our compliance and audit teams are expecting, and IT and application teams understanding, okay, this policy definition is important. I can't go randomly create. I think, okay, I'm going to go say, there's dynamic secrets and secrets gets rotated on a periodic basis, whatever. But the compliance angle of what kind of application is it? What are the standards and procedures that needs to be deployed? Understanding that, right? That has been a big challenge, and that's the bridge we are trying to address. That's the gap we are trying to address as Accenture Security.
Awesome. And well, I guess we'll wrap up. We have one more question here, and then we can wrap up. I guess, who do you think are the key stakeholders in like that zero trust security kind of program that it's being talked about often, and that's something that's becoming more and more critical in today's age?
So originally, the aspect of what we just talked, right, was responsibilities of CSO, right, Chief Security Officer, or CISOs. Now that it's moving into the app tier, it's becoming a bigger responsibility for CIO. So there is like entire C-suite is involved, but the sponsor, like once the integration happens, all of the security footprint should fall under CSO, because the standards are implemented, right? You don't have to redefine for each application. You don't have to go redefine the new security standard on how you build, how you deploy. So adopting and integrating with your existing processes and procedures, and extending those procedures, and making application teams part of this journey is the key. The application landscape, the transformation still belongs to CIO, but once the security controls are implemented, it is the CISOs and CSOs organization which is supposed to extend these standards and procedures for app teams to embrace and adopt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Krishna. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule today and really kind of sharing the journey that we have, especially our joint partnership with our HashiCorp team and Accenture, and we were able to present this to the audience. We'll pass it back to the Hashi team, and we can kind of wrap up this call. Thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening to us. And we are here to help